The idea came to Elon Musk on a Tuesday night. He sat alone in his office, the lights of Los Angeles twinkling below the large windows. Most of his employees had gone home hours ago, but Elon often found clarity in these quiet moments when the world slowed down. He scrolled through social media, something he did more often than people might expect. Between posts about rocket launches and electric car innovations, he noticed something that caught his eye: a viral video of a homeless man being kicked out of a luxury car dealership. The man hadn't done anything wrong. He was clean, polite, and genuinely interested in the vehicles. But his worn clothes and unkempt appearance had been enough for the staff to judge him. The comments section was filled with similar stories. People sharing times when they'd been treated poorly at high-end stores or dealerships because they didn't look the part. Elon frowned, tapping his fingers on his desk. Is this really still happening? He muttered to himself. Elon knew about judgment. Throughout his career, people had underestimated him, questioned his ideas, and doubted his vision. But he had the advantage of wealth and fame now. People listened when he spoke. Not everyone had that privilege. He clicked on another video, then another. Each showed similar situations, people being dismissed or treated poorly based solely on their appearance. The pattern bothered him more than he expected. His phone buzzed with a message from his assistant about tomorrow's meetings, but Elon barely noticed. An idea was forming in his mind, something unexpected and perhaps a little crazy. But those were the kinds of ideas he liked best. What if, he said to the empty room, leaning back in his chair, what if I saw it for myself? The concept was simple but powerful. He would disguise himself as someone homeless and visit luxury car dealerships. No cameras, no entourage. Just him, experiencing firsthand how people were treated when they didn't look wealthy. Elon pulled up a new document on his computer and began typing notes. This wouldn't be about publicity or marketing. This would be about understanding a problem that money and success had insulated him from experiencing. I need to feel it myself, he whispered. See it with my own eyes. He knew some would call it a publicity stunt if they found out. Others might say he was wasting time that could be spent running his companies. But something about this felt important, a reminder of the real world beyond board meetings and rocket launches. The next morning, Elon called one of the few people he trusted with unusual requests, a friend who worked in the film industry as a makeup artist. I need you to make me unrecognizable, Elon explained over coffee in his kitchen. Not for a party or event, for something more personal. His friend, a woman named Pat who had worked on major Hollywood productions, raised an eyebrow but didn't seem shocked. When you worked with Elon Musk, unusual requests came with the territory. How unrecognizable are we talking? She asked, studying his face. Different hair color? Age you up? Make you look like someone specific? Elon shook his head. I want to look homeless. Not in a caricature way, realistically homeless. Someone people would avoid eye contact with on the street. Pat's expression changed from curiosity to concern. Can I ask why? He explained his plan, watching her face as she processed it. Unlike many people in his life who immediately told him what they thought he wanted to hear, Pat took her time considering his idea. It's an interesting concept, she finally said. But are you sure this is the best approach? You could talk to advocacy groups, donate to shelters, create programs. I already do those things, Elon replied, which was true. His foundations donated millions to homelessness initiatives. This is different. I want to understand something that no spreadsheet or charity gala can teach me. Pat nodded slowly. I get it. When do you want to do this? This weekend. I've cleared my schedule. The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. Elon researched which dealerships to visit, looking for those with the most mixed reviews about customer service. He chose 3 locations around Los Angeles, places selling high-end vehicles including his competitors' brands. Pat assembled her supplies and worked on creating a believable appearance. This wasn't about making him look like a stereotype, but creating a realistic person who had fallen on hard times. The key, Pat explained as she worked, is subtlety. Real homelessness isn't always obvious. Many homeless people try their best to look presentable. She aged his skin slightly with careful makeup, added some subtle discoloration that suggested poor nutrition, and created a patchy, uneven beard. His normally well-kept hair was transformed with special products to look unwashed and slightly matted. For clothing, They avoided the obvious choices. No fingerless gloves or comically tattered overcoat. Instead, Pat helped him select items that were simply worn out. Jeans with natural wear patterns, a faded jacket that had seen better days, shoes with the soles starting to separate. "How's my breath?" Elon asked half-jokingly as they finished the final touches on Saturday morning. "Actually too good," Pat replied, handing him a coffee. "Too white of teeth, too. Drink this and don't brush afterward." As he looked at himself in the mirror, Elon felt a strange disconnect. The face looking back wasn't the tech billionaire from magazine covers. It was someone society had largely forgotten, someone easy to ignore and walk past. "Will people recognize me?" he asked, turning to see different angles. Pat shook her head. "Not a chance. Your own mother would walk past you on the street." That was exactly what he wanted to hear. The plan was simple. Elon would visit each dealership alone, arrive by public bus to stay in character and simply experience how he was treated. No cameras, no recording devices. This wasn't about catching people doing something wrong to shame them publicly. It was about understanding. "Remember," Pat said as he prepared to leave, "you're not playing a character with a backstory. Just be yourself, minus the confidence that comes with being, well, you." Elon nodded, feeling a strange nervousness he hadn't experienced in years. This wasn't like launching a new product or speaking to thousands of people. This was stepping into an entirely different life. "What if someone does recognize me?" he asked. Pat handed him a small bag with removal supplies for the makeup. "Then the experiment ends early. But they won't." As he walked out to catch the bus, Elon felt people's eyes sliding past him. The same people who might have done a double take or asked for a photo if he'd been dressed normally. It was an odd sensation, being so completely invisible. Waiting at the bus stop, an older woman clutched her purse tighter when he sat down. A man in a business suit chose to stand rather than take the empty seat beside him. These small moments already taught him something before he'd even reached the first dealership. On the bus, Elon took a moment to center himself. He wasn't doing this for publicity or to create content for social media. He was doing it because sometimes understanding required experiencing. All his life he had believed in first principles thinking, breaking problems down to their fundamental truths and building solutions from there. Today, he was seeking a fundamental truth about how society worked, or didn't work, for everyone equally. As the bus neared his stop, Elon felt his phone buzz in his pocket. Probably one of his executives with a weekend emergency that couldn't wait until Monday. He ignored it. For the next few hours, he wasn't Elon Musk, tech billionaire and industrial innovator. He was just a man that society had written off, about to walk into a world built for people who looked like they belonged there. The first dealership came into view as he stepped off the bus. Gleaming cars sat in perfect rows under the California sun. Through the spotless glass windows, he could see smartly dressed salespeople chatting with prospective buyers. Elon took a deep breath and adjusted his worn jacket. He wasn't sure exactly what would happen when he walked through those doors, but he knew it would be a lesson he couldn't learn any other way. And with that thought, he began walking toward the entrance, already noticing the security guard's eyes tracking his approach. The security guard's gaze followed Elon as he approached the dealership entrance. It wasn't an aggressive look, but it wasn't welcoming either. It was the careful assessment of someone whose job involved deciding who belonged and who didn't. Elon kept his shoulders slightly hunched, his eyes down, body language he'd observed in people who expected to be unwelcome. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, and cool air conditioning replaced the warm California sun. Inside, the dealership gleamed. Spotless tile floors reflected overhead lights, and cars worth more than most homes sat on raised platforms. The smell of leather, coffee, and some kind of subtle air freshener filled the space. It was designed to feel exclusive. For a moment, no one approached him. Elon stood just inside the entrance, taking in the showroom. 3 salespeople stood chatting near a desk. 2 others were with customers, well-dressed couples examining vehicles. No one made eye contact with him. Elon walked slowly toward a sleek electric sports car, ironically one made by a competing company to Tesla. He admired the lines of it, the craftsmanship. Despite his disguise and his mission today, he couldn't help appreciating good engineering when he saw it. "Sir." The voice came from behind him. Turning, Elon saw the security guard had moved inside and now stood a few feet away. "Can I help you with something?" The question sounded polite enough, but the meaning was clear. "What are you doing here?" "Just looking at the cars," Elon replied, keeping his voice soft. He'd practiced speaking without his usual confidence and distinctive speech patterns. "This is a private showroom," the guard said. "These vehicles start at $150,000. Elon nodded slowly. "I know. I'm interested in the features on this one." He gestured to the sports car. The guard looked skeptical but didn't immediately ask him to leave. Instead, he touched his earpiece and murmured something Elon couldn't hear. Across the room, one of the salespeople glanced over, then quickly returned to his conversation. Elon continued examining the car. He knew more about its engineering than most of the people who worked here. But today he wasn't Elon Musk. He was just a man in worn clothes that didn't match the setting. After a few minutes, a salesperson approached, an older man with gray hair and an expensive-looking suit. His name tag read Doug. The security guard hovered nearby. "Hello there," Doug said, not extending his hand for a shake. "Thomas mentioned you were interested in our vehicles?" Elon nodded. "This one especially. The battery technology is impressive." Something flickered in Doug's expression. Surprise? Perhaps that someone who looked like Elon would know anything about battery technology. "Yes? Well," Doug cleared his throat. "These are very exclusive vehicles. Perhaps I could interest you in some brochures to take with you." The message was clear: take the literature and leave. "Actually," Elon said, "I'd like to know more about the charging time. And the range. The specs online say one thing, but real-world performance is often different." Doug blinked, clearly not expecting these questions. "You've researched this model?" "I follow the industry," Elon replied simply. A few feet away, a young salesperson was watching their interaction with curiosity. Unlike Doug, this person, whose name tag read Alec, seemed genuinely interested rather than suspicious. "Sir," Doug said firmly, "we're quite busy today with scheduled appointments. I'd be happy to give you some information to take with you, but—" "I'm not in a hurry," Elon interrupted gently. "I can wait." Doug's smile tightened. "Perhaps another dealership might be better suited to your needs." Before Elon could respond, Alex stepped forward. "I can help," they offered. "I don't have any appointments for the next hour." Doug shot Alex a warning look, but the younger salesperson either didn't notice or chose to ignore it. "Great," Elon said, smiling at Alex. "I'd appreciate that." Doug hesitated, then shrugged slightly. "Fine. Alex can assist you." He walked away, murmuring something to the security guard, who moved to a position where he could still observe them. Alex approached with a genuine smile. "So you're interested in the Volt GT? It's a beautiful machine." "It is," Elon agreed. "How long have you worked with these cars?" "Just 6 months," Alex admitted. "But I've been studying electric vehicles since college." "They're the future," Elon smiled. If only Alex knew who they were talking to. Over the next 20 minutes, Elon asked detailed questions about the vehicle's performance, battery life, and charging capabilities. With each technical question, Alex seemed increasingly surprised and engaged. Unlike Doug, Alex didn't seem concerned about Elon's appearance, just his interest in the car. "You really know your stuff," Alex said finally. "Are you in the industry?" Elon shrugged. "You could say that. Would you like to sit inside?" Alex offered, moving to open the car's door. From across the room, Elon noticed Doug watching with a frown. Other customers were glancing over too, some with curious expressions, others with disapproval. "I'd like that," Elon said, and carefully climbed into the driver's seat. The leather was butter-soft, the dashboard a marvel of modern design. Elon ran his fingers over the steering wheel, noting the placement of controls, the visibility of the displays. "The interior is even better than I expected," he said truthfully. Alex beamed. "Wait until you feel how it drives. The acceleration is incredible." "You'd let me test drive it?" Elon asked, genuinely surprised. Alex's smile faltered slightly. "Well, we'd need to go through some paperwork first, and you'd need to provide a valid license and proof of insurance." A pause. "Do you have those with you?" Of course he did. Elon had brought his real ID, though showing it would end the experiment immediately. But that wasn't the point of today. "Not today," Elon admitted. "I was just hoping to see it up close first." Relief and disappointment battled in Alex's expression. I understand. Maybe next time when you're prepared for a test drive. Elon nodded and carefully exited the vehicle. The build quality is impressive, better than previous models. You've seen the earlier versions? I've followed their development. Alex seemed about to ask more questions when Doug appeared beside them. How are we doing over here? He asked, his tone suggesting the conversation should be wrapping up. Great, Alex replied enthusiastically. We were just discussing the technical specifications. He really knows the technology. Doug's smile didn't reach his eyes. Wonderful. Now I believe the Taylors have arrived for their 2 o'clock appointment with you, Alex. It was a clear dismissal, and both Elon and Alex knew it. There was no appointment. Doug simply wanted Alex to stop spending time with someone who wasn't a real customer. Oh, Alex looked surprised, then apologetic. I should go then. It was nice talking with you, sir. Likewise, Elon said. Thanks for answering my questions. As Alex walked away, Doug turned to Elon. I hope your curiosity has been satisfied. Let me get you those brochures I mentioned. Actually, Elon said, I'm also interested in seeing the sedan model. Doug's face tightened almost imperceptibly. I'm afraid all our staff are occupied with appointments now. Perhaps you could come back another day. Elon glanced around the showroom. Several salespeople were visibly unoccupied. One was scrolling on his phone. Another was arranging brochures at a desk. Those people look available, Elon pointed out mildly. Doug's professional veneer slipped slightly. Sir, I'm trying to be courteous here. This is a luxury car dealership. Our vehicles cost more than most people make in several years. We both know you're not in a position to make such a purchase today. There it was, the assumption laid bare. Doug had decided, based solely on Elon's appearance, that he couldn't possibly be a legitimate customer. How do you know what I can afford? Elon asked quietly. Let's not play games, Doug said, lowering his voice. You came in on the bus. You're wearing clothes from a thrift store at best. We get people like you coming in to escape the heat or cold, or just to look at cars you'll never own. I've been patient, but my patience has limits. Elon met his gaze steadily. People like me? Doug sighed. Sir, please don't make this difficult. Take the brochures and enjoy the rest of your day elsewhere. In that moment, Elon considered revealing himself, watching the color drain from Doug's face as he realized he'd been dismissing one of the richest men in the world. But that wasn't the point of this exercise. It wasn't about embarrassing anyone. It was about understanding. Thank you for your time, Elon said finally, accepting the glossy brochures Doug thrust toward him. As he walked toward the exit, Elon noticed Alex helping an older couple, presumably the fictional Taylors Doug had invented. Alex glanced up, caught Elon's eye, and gave a small, apologetic smile. Outside, the California sun felt hotter than before. Elon tucked the brochures into his worn jacket pocket and checked his watch. He had 2 more dealerships to visit today. As he waited at the bus stop, he thought about Doug and Alex, 2 people in the same environment with vastly different approaches. Doug saw only the outer shell and made his judgment accordingly. Alex saw past it to the person underneath. The bus arrived with a hiss of brakes. As Elon climbed aboard, he wondered which of those approaches was more common in the world. That's what he was here to find out. Next stop, a dealership that sold his own Tesla vehicles. Would they treat homeless Elon any differently? The bus ride to the second dealership gave Elon time to think. He sat near the back, watching the city pass by through smudged windows. A mother and young child sat across from him, the little boy staring openly until his mother whispered something and he looked away. Elon wasn't used to being invisible, or worse, someone to be avoided. Throughout his career, people had always wanted his attention, his time, his approval. The contrast was jarring. The Tesla dealership came into view as the bus rounded a corner. Unlike other luxury car showrooms that relied on classic architecture to convey exclusivity, the Tesla location was sleek and modern, all glass and clean lines. Elon felt a flicker of pride despite himself. This was part of what he'd built, though the people inside had no idea their disguised visitor was actually their boss. As he stepped off the bus, Elon took a moment to observe the dealership from the outside. Several potential customers wandered the lot, examining the vehicles. Staff members in simple black polo shirts engaged with visitors, their body language open and attentive. Elon adjusted his worn jacket and slowly made his way toward the entrance. Would his own company treat him differently? He was about to find out. The doors slid open silently as he approached. Inside, the showroom was busy, busier than the previous dealership. The open floor plan showcased several vehicle models and digital displays of feared information about features and specifications. The atmosphere felt different too. Less stuffy formality, more excited energy. No one immediately approached him, but no one stared either. Elon made his way to a Model S on display, running his hand lightly over its sleek hood. He knew every inch of this car's design, had spent countless hours perfecting it. Now he was pretending to see it as a newcomer. After a few minutes, a Tesla representative noticed him. The young man, his name tag read Ray, approached with a friendly smile that didn't falter when he took in Elon's appearance. "Hello there," Ray said warmly. "First time checking out a Tesla?" Elon nodded. "Been interested for a while, but never got a close look." "Well, you picked a good time to visit. Not too crowded today. Any questions I can answer for you?" There was no immediate dismissal, no suspicious glances. Ray's demeanor remained open and engaged. "I'm curious about the battery life," Elon said. "How does it hold up in real-world conditions?" Ray launched into an enthusiastic explanation, not dumbing it down or rushing through it. He treated Elon like any other potential customer, someone whose questions deserved thoughtful answers. "Would you like to see the interior?" Ray offered after they'd discussed the car's exterior features. When Elon nodded, Ray opened the driver's side door without hesitation. "Go ahead and have a seat. Feel the difference." Elon slid into the driver's seat of his own creation, experiencing it through new eyes. The minimalist dashboard, the oversized center screen, the spacious feel, all of it intentionally designed under his direction. "What do you think?" Ray asked, leaning against the open door. "It's not what I expected," Elon replied truthfully. "Simpler, cleaner." "That's what everyone says," Ray laughed. "We stripped away all the unnecessary buttons and knobs. Everything you need is right there on the touchscreen or voice-activated." As Elon explored the interior features, other customers entered the showroom. Ray didn't abandon him to pursue these better-dressed potential buyers. Instead, he continued answering Elon's increasingly technical questions with patience and enthusiasm. "You really know your stuff," Ray commented after Elon asked about the specific alloy used in the battery casing. "Are you an engineer?" Elon smiled slightly. "Something like that." "Well, you're asking better questions than most people who walk through those doors," Ray said. "Even the ones in three-piece suits." A small group of visitors had gathered nearby, interested in the same model. Rather than asking Elon to move along, Ray included him in the impromptu group presentation. "This gentleman was just asking about the battery design," Ray told the group. "It's actually one of the most revolutionary aspects of the vehicle." The others in the group, two couples and a single man, all well-dressed, glanced at Elon with mild surprise but no obvious disdain. One of the women even nodded at him with a smile. For the next 15 minutes, Elon was part of this group, listening to Ray's presentation and occasionally adding questions that pushed the conversation into more technical territory. Ray rose to the challenge each time, and when he didn't know an answer, he admitted it honestly. "I'm not sure about that specific cooling system modification," Ray said in response to one of Elon's more detailed questions. "But I can find out for you. We've got a technical team in the back who can answer pretty much anything." This was different from the previous dealership in every way. No security guard hovering nearby. No manager trying to usher him out. Just straightforward information and respectful treatment. When the group presentation ended, the other customers moved on to examine different models. Elon remained by the Model S, thoughtfully running his hand along the door panel. "So what do you think?" Ray asked. "Can you see yourself driving one of these someday?" The question wasn't asked with mockery or condescension. Ray seemed genuinely interested in Elon's opinion. "Maybe sooner than you'd think," Elon replied. Ray smiled. "That's the spirit. A lot of people save up for these, you know. We've got financing options too." He paused, then added, "Don't let appearances fool anyone. Some of our best customers don't look like typical luxury car buyers." The comment hit Elon unexpectedly. Had Ray seen through his disguise? But the young man's expression remained casual and friendly, with no hint of recognition. "You get many customers who look like me?" Elon asked curiously. Ray shrugged. We get all types. Last month, a guy came in wearing paint-splattered overalls. Turns out he owns the biggest plumbing company in the county. Another time, a woman in workout clothes that had seen better days bought our top model without even blinking at the price. He leaned in slightly. The folks who make the biggest show about their money are often the ones who have the most to prove. Elon nodded slowly. Interesting perspective. Anyway, Ray continued, no pressure at all. Just wanted to let you know that there are options. And if you're just here to check out the cars because you're interested in the technology, that's cool too. That's why we keep the showroom open to everyone. As if to prove Ray's point about the dealership's open-door policy, an elderly man with a walker entered the showroom, accompanied by what appeared to be his grandson. Ray waved at them but made no move to end his conversation with Elon. Do you need to help them? Elon asked. Nah, Tanner's got it, Ray replied, nodding toward another staff member who was already greeting the newcomers. Besides, we were in the middle of a conversation. Elon was genuinely impressed, not just with Ray, but with the entire atmosphere of the place. This was exactly what he'd hoped his company culture would foster: openness, respect, and genuine enthusiasm for the technology, rather than superficial judgments of customers. I should probably get going, Elon said finally. You've been really helpful. No problem at all, Ray replied, offering his hand for a shake, the first person to do so since Elon had begun his experiment. Here's my card. Call if you have any more questions or just stop by again. We're open late on Thursdays if that works better for your schedule. Elon accepted the card and the handshake. I appreciate it, Ray. One more thing, Ray added as Elon turned to leave. He grabbed a small model car from a nearby desk. For your time today. It's just a little die-cast Model S, but pretty cool, right? Elon looked down at the perfectly detailed miniature version of the car they'd been discussing. It was a standard promotional item the company gave out, but the gesture itself, treating him as a valued visitor regardless of his appearance, felt significant. Thanks, Elon said, carefully tucking the model car into his pocket along with Ray's business card. As he walked out of the dealership, Elon felt a mix of pride and thoughtfulness. His own company had passed the test he hadn't even known he was conducting. The contrast with the first dealership couldn't have been clearer. Waiting at the bus stop again, Elon pulled out his phone and made a brief note about his experience. He had one more dealership to visit today, a traditional luxury brand known for its exclusive reputation and old-money clientele. After the stark difference between his first two stops, he was even more curious about what awaited him there. The bus arrived and Elon boarded it deep in thought. The small model car in his pocket reminded him of something important. The culture of a company flowed from the top down. Somewhere along the line, Tesla employees had absorbed the message that technology should be accessible to everyone, regardless of appearance or background, that cars could be appreciated for their engineering rather than as status symbols. As the bus rumbled toward his final destination, Elon wondered what other lessons awaited him in this unexpected day of living in someone else's shoes. The final dealership on Elon's list was located in Beverly Hills, nestled among high-end fashion boutiques and five-star restaurants. Even the bus stop was different here, cleaner with a sleek design that matched the upscale surroundings. As he stepped off the bus, Elon noticed a woman clutching her designer purse closer to her body when he walked past. This dealership sold one of the world's most prestigious car brands, the kind of vehicles that appeared in movies as shorthand for extreme wealth. The building itself resembled a modern art museum more than a car showroom, with dramatic architecture and a fountain in front. Elon approached slowly, noting the contrast between his worn appearance and the gleaming environment. Through the spotless glass windows, he could see cars displayed on rotating platforms under perfect lighting. The few customers visible inside wore clothing that probably cost more than the average monthly rent. At the entrance, a uniformed attendant stood beside the door. As Elon approached, the man stepped subtly into his path. "Can I help you, sir?" the attendant asked. His tone was polite, but his stance was clear. He was a gatekeeper, not a greeter. "I'd like to look at the cars," Elon replied simply. The attendant's expression remained professionally blank. "Do you have an appointment today?" "No, just browsing." "I see." The attendant didn't move from his position. "This showroom is by appointment only. For the protection of our clients and vehicles." Elon glanced through the glass doors. At least 3 people were wandering freely among the cars inside, clearly without guides. Those people have appointments? Elon asked, gesturing toward them. The attendant didn't even turn to look. All of our guests inside have been pre-screened. Company policy. Pre-screened? Yes, sir. Perhaps you'd like a brochure instead? The man reached into a compartment by the door and pulled out a glossy catalog. Our website also has extensive information, including a contact number to schedule an appropriate viewing time. The message couldn't have been clearer. You don't belong here. Elon considered his options. He could reveal his identity, watch the attendant's face transform from dismissal to panic. He could insist, make a scene, demand to speak to management, but none of those actions would serve his purpose today. Thanks for the brochure, Elon said, accepting it calmly. He turned and walked a short distance away, pretending to read the catalog while actually observing the entrance. Over the next 15 minutes, he watched as 7 people approached the dealership. 5 were allowed in immediately with nothing more than a friendly nod from the attendant. These people all wore expensive clothing and accessories. The other 2, a younger couple in more casual attire, were asked a series of questions before being allowed inside. Elon was contemplating his next move when he noticed a man approaching the dealership. This person stood out from the Beverly Hills crowd. He wore paint-splattered jeans, work boots, and a simple t-shirt. His hands showed the calluses of someone who worked manually for a living. With genuine curiosity, Elon watched as this man approached the entrance. To his surprise, the attendant's demeanor changed completely. He smiled warmly and extended his hand for a handshake. Mr. Chen, good to see you again, sir. Your car is ready for your inspection in the private viewing room. The man in work clothes returned the handshake with a nod. Thanks, Paul. How's your son doing with those college applications? Very well, thanks to your advice about the engineering programs. He's hoping to hear back next month. Tell him to call me if he wants to talk about it more. The attendant, Paul, opened the door with a slight bow. Of course, sir. Right this way. Elon watched as the man in work clothes was escorted inside with the kind of deference usually reserved for dignitaries. Clearly, there was more to this person than his casual appearance suggested. Intrigued, Elon decided to change tactics. He walked around the block, giving himself time to think. This experiment was showing him something important. It wasn't just about how people treated those who looked homeless. It was about the countless snap judgments made based on appearance alone. After circling back to the dealership, Elon approached a woman who was just exiting. She was elegantly dressed in business attire with the confident air of someone accustomed to being taken seriously. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Could I ask you something?" She hesitated, visibly torn between ingrained politeness and caution about speaking to someone who looked like him. "I'm doing a social experiment," Elon continued quickly. "I'm trying to get into that dealership, but they won't let me in because of how I look. Would you be willing to help me?" The woman's expression changed from wariness to interest. "A social experiment?" Elon nodded. "I'm studying how people are treated differently based on their appearance." She considered this for a moment. "What would I need to do?" "Just walk in with me. Say I'm with you." The woman looked him over with new eyes, not judging now but assessing. "You're not actually homeless, are you?" Elon smiled slightly. "No, this is a disguise." Something in his manner must have convinced her because she nodded. "All right. I'm curious to see what happens. I'm Liz, by the way." "Thank you, Liz. I'm John," Elon said, giving a false name to maintain his cover. Together, they walked back to the entrance. Paul, the attendant, straightened immediately when he saw Liz approaching. "Ms. Reynolds, lovely to see you again." "Hello, Paul," she replied smoothly. "My friend here is interested in the new coupe model. We'd like to see it together." Paul's gaze shifted between them, confusion evident in his expression. "Your friend, ma'am?" "Yes," Liz said firmly. "Is there a problem?" Put on the spot, Paul hesitated only briefly before his professional training took over. "No problem at all. Please come in." And just like that, the barrier disappeared. Elon walked into the showroom with Liz, nodding politely to Paul as they passed. Inside, the space was even more impressive. Soaring ceilings, museum-quality lighting, and cars displayed like precious artifacts. "Thanks for doing this," Elon murmured to Liz as they walked. "I'm genuinely curious now," she replied quietly. "Let's see how they react." They didn't have to wait long. A salesperson approached immediately. a tall man in a perfectly tailored suit who introduced himself as Vincent. His smile was directed entirely at Liz. "Ms. Reynolds, wonderful to see you again. How is the convertible performing?" "Beautifully," she replied. "Today I'm helping my friend explore options. He's particularly interested in the new coupe." Vincent's eyes flickered to Elon, then back to Liz. The professional smile never wavered, but something in his eyes did. "Of course," Vincent said. "The coupe is this way." As they followed Vincent through the showroom, Elon noticed other employees and customers watching them. Their expressions ranged from confusion to disapproval to barely concealed amusement. No one approached, but everyone noticed. Vincent led them to a sleek vehicle in the center of the display floor. As he began describing its features, Elon noticed that Vincent addressed all his comments to Liz. Despite Elon being the supposed customer, "The engine produces 630 horsepower," Vincent explained to Liz. 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. "Impressive," Elon remarked. "What about the electric motor integration in the hybrid model?" Vincent blinked, clearly surprised by the technical question from someone he'd been studiously trying to ignore. He hesitated before answering. "The hybrid system adds another 80 horsepower while improving fuel efficiency by 23%. Elon nodded. "And the battery placement? Does it affect the weight distribution?" Now Vincent was really thrown off balance. These were knowledgeable questions, not what he'd expected from someone who looked like Elon did today. The battery is positioned low in the chassis to maintain the center of gravity," Vincent replied, his eyes now moving between Elon and Liz with confusion. "Smart design," Elon commented. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward the door handle. Vincent looked to Liz as if seeking permission or guidance. She nodded encouragingly. "Of course," Vincent said reluctantly. As Elon carefully examined the car's interior, he could sense the tension in Vincent's body language. The salesman was clearly uncomfortable but trapped by social convention, and Liz's obvious support when another customer entered the showroom. A well-dressed, older man, Vincent practically sagged with relief. "Excuse me for one moment," he said, then turned to a nearby colleague. "Kim, could you assist these guests while I greet Mr. Blackwell?" Kim approached with visible reluctance, but to her credit, she addressed both Liz and Elon directly. "Would you like to know more about the customization options?" she asked. "Actually," Elon said, "I'm curious about the manufacturing process. Are the engines still assembled in the original factory, or has that been outsourced?" Kim seemed surprised but answered knowledgeably, gradually becoming more engaged as Elon asked increasingly detailed questions about the engineering and design. Like Vincent, she had clearly not expected this level of technical understanding from someone in worn clothes. After about 20 minutes, Elon thanked her and turned to Liz. "I think I've seen everything I needed to here. Thank you for your help." Liz, who had been watching the interactions with fascinated attention, nodded. "Happy to help. This has been educational." As they walked toward the exit, Vincent was still engaged with Mr. Blackwell, but he watched them leave with an expression Elon couldn't quite interpret, perhaps concerned that he had misjudged the situation. Outside, Elon turned to Liz. "I appreciate your willingness to participate. You've helped me more than you know." Liz smiled. It was eye-opening. "Are you a car designer? An engineer? Your questions were quite specific." "Something like that," Elon replied with a small smile. "Let's just say I have a professional interest in how these places operate." They parted ways, and as Elon waited for the bus that would take him back to where he'd started this experiment, he reflected on everything he'd seen today. 3 dealerships, 3 very different experiences, all determined largely by how he looked rather than who he was. The bus arrived, and as Elon climbed aboard, he noticed the small Tesla model car still in his pocket from the second dealership. That simple gesture of inclusion, so automatic for Ray, had been completely absent from the third dealership until Liz had forced the issue. It was nearly evening now. Time to return to his real life and shed this temporary identity, but the lessons learned would remain with him long after the disguise was gone. As the bus trundled through the darkening streets of Los Angeles, Elon sat quietly, processing everything he'd experienced. The small Tesla model car in his pocket seemed to weigh more than its actual ounces, a physical reminder of the day's revelations. The sun was setting by the time Elon returned, to the small hotel room he'd booked under a false name for this experiment. The room was simple but clean, a neutral space where he could transition back to his real life. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, studying his transformed appearance one last time. The stubble, the weathered skin, the carefully disheveled hair, all of it had worked perfectly. Too perfectly, perhaps. The disguise had made him invisible in some places and unwelcome in others. Only at his own company had he been treated with consistent dignity. Using the removal products Pat had given him, Elon slowly erased the homeless persona. The makeup came away in smudges, revealing his more familiar features underneath. He showered, watching as the last traces of his disguise swirled down the drain. When he emerged, clean-shaven and dressed in the fresh clothes he'd packed, the transformation was complete. If anyone who had seen him earlier today encountered him now, they wouldn't make the connection. Elon checked his phone for the first time since morning. Dozens of missed calls, over 100 unread messages. The world of Elon Musk, CEO, had continued spinning in his absence. He ignored them all for now and made a single call. "Pat, it's me, the experiment is over." "How did it go?" she asked. "Educational," he replied. "Very educational. Are you okay?" "You sound different." Elon considered the question. Was he okay? Physically, yes. Emotionally and mentally. He was still sorting through it all. "I'm processing," he said finally. "Can you meet me for breakfast tomorrow? I'd like to talk through everything while it's still fresh." "Of course. The usual place?" "No," Elon decided. "Let's meet at that diner on Olympic Boulevard. The one we passed on the way to the studio." Pat sounded surprised. "Really? That place looked pretty run down." "That's why I want to go there," Elon said. "It's important." After ending the call, Elon sat on the edge of the hotel bed, still holding the small model Tesla in his palm. 3 dealerships, 3 fundamentally different experiences. The lessons were clear, if uncomfortable. People saw what they expected to see. People treated others based on those expectations, and most people never questioned either process. The next morning, Elon met Pat at the modest diner he'd specified. The place was busy with a mix of people: construction workers grabbing coffee, office employees getting breakfast before work, a few people who might have spent the night on the streets just looking for a warm place to sit. Pat was already there, looking slightly out of place in her stylish clothes. She raised an eyebrow as Elon slid into the booth across from her. "So this is different," she said, gesturing around. "Not your usual 5-star breakfast spot." "That's kind of the point," Elon replied. A waitress approached, middle-aged, tired-looking, but with a genuine smile. Her name tag read Flo. "What can I get you to?" she asked, pencil poised above her notepad. They ordered simple breakfasts and coffee. When Flo walked away, Elon leaned forward. "Yesterday was eye-opening," he began. "I want to tell you everything that happened, but first, look around." "What do you see?" Pat glanced around the diner, her gaze sweeping over the diverse customers. "People having breakfast?" "Exactly. Just people. Different backgrounds, different jobs, different incomes, but here, everyone gets the same menu, the same service. Flo didn't size me up to decide if I deserve her attention. And that's different from what you experienced yesterday," Pat guessed. Elon nodded and began describing his day. The dismissive treatment at the first dealership, the respectful interaction at Tesla, and the outright exclusion at the luxury showroom until Liz had intervened. As he talked, their food arrived. Flo refilled their coffee cups without interrupting the conversation. The simple courtesy only emphasized Elon's point. "The most striking thing," Elon continued, "was how invisible I felt in some places. Not just unwelcome, unseen. As if I didn't even register as a person worthy of acknowledgement." Pat nodded slowly. "That must have been hard, even knowing it was temporary." "It was. And that's what I keep thinking about. For me, it was one day. An experiment I could end whenever I wanted. For people who actually live on the streets or struggle financially, that's their daily reality." Their conversation paused as a noisy group entered the diner. Young people in business attire, talking loudly about stock options and market predictions. They took a large table nearby, barely glancing at the other patrons. "Those could be my employees," Elon mused, watching them. "Or yours. How many people do we work with who would have treated homeless me the way Doug did at that first dealership? Or the way Paul the doorman did at the luxury place?" Pat considered this. "Probably more than we'd like to think. But there was Ray at the Tesla dealership. And Liz, who helped you. True, Elon acknowledged. And that's what gives me hope. Some people see past appearances. The question is, how do we encourage more of that? They continued discussing the experiment while finishing breakfast. By the time Flo brought the check, Elon had reached a decision. I'm going to make some changes, he said as they stepped outside into the morning sunshine. What kind of changes? Pat asked. Big ones, starting with how we hire and train people at Tesla and my other companies. Ray showed me something important yesterday, that the culture I've tried to build actually reached the showroom floor. But I can do better. We can be more intentional about it. Over the next week, Elon put his plan into action. He called a meeting with his executive team, not revealing his experiment at first, but starting a discussion about company culture and customer service. I want to know how we're treating all potential customers, he said, not just the obvious ones. His team shared data and strategies. But Elon noticed something missing from their presentations: empathy, understanding, the human element. Finally, he decided to share his experience. Last weekend, I conducted an experiment, he began, pulling out his phone and showing them photos Pat had taken of his disguise. I visited 3 dealerships, including one of our own, looking like this. The executive's expressions ranged from shock to disbelief as Elon described his day. When he recounted his experience at the Tesla location, several people visibly relaxed, relieved that their company had passed the test. Don't get too comfortable, Elon cautioned them. Yes, Ray at the Tesla dealership treated me with dignity. But is that experience consistent across all our locations? Do all our employees share his values? I doubt it. He proposed a new initiative: regular undercover customer experiences conducted by people of different backgrounds, appearances, and abilities. The results would inform hiring, training, and promotion decisions at all his companies. This isn't just about being nice, Elon explained. This is about breaking down the barriers that keep good people, customers, employees, partners, from connecting with us. If someone has the interest and ability to engage with our products, I don't care if they're wearing a 3-piece suit or haven't showered in a week. The room fell silent as his words sank in. Finally, his chief operating officer spoke up. This is going to be expensive and time-consuming to implement, she pointed out. Yes, Elon agreed, and completely worth it. As the meeting concluded and action items were assigned, Elon stayed behind thinking about Ray, Alex, and Liz, people who had seen past the surface. He thought about Doug and Vincent and Paul too, people whose snap judgments had blinded them to the person standing right in front of them. In the weeks that followed, Elon's companies began implementing his new vision. The first undercover customers reported experiences that ranged from excellent to appalling. Training programs were revised. Hiring practices were examined for unconscious bias. 1 month after his experiment, Elon received an email that made him smile. It contained a performance report from the Tesla dealership he'd visited, highlighting Ray's consistently excellent customer feedback. At the bottom was a note that Ray had been promoted to customer experience trainer for the region. That same day, Elon did something he'd been considering since his experiment. He drove himself to the diner where he'd debriefed with Pat, sat in the same booth, and observed the morning rush. Flo was there again, efficiently serving a diverse crowd with the same straightforward courtesy she showed everyone. When she approached his table, she didn't recognize him as the man who had left her a $100 tip on a $30 breakfast last time. "What can I get you, hun?" she asked, pencil ready. "Coffee to start," Elon replied. "And maybe your advice on something." Flo looked surprised but nodded. "Shoot, I'm thinking of making some changes at my company, about how we see people, really see them. You're good at that. Treating everyone who walks through that door the same way. How do you do it?" Flo's tired face softened into a genuine smile. "Simple. I just figure everybody who sits at one of my tables has a story worth respecting. Don't matter if they're wearing fancy suits or haven't changed clothes in days. People are just people." Elon nodded slowly. "People are just people," he repeated. "That might be the most important lesson I've learned in a long time." He took out his notebook and wrote it down. It would become the cornerstone of his new initiative, words as simple and powerful as the truth they contained.